Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the heavy metalverse. Today, we're going to talk about Palladium as it just hit $1,600. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. Remember, when the crypto markets suck, which does occasionally happen, there's always a bull market somewhere, right? You can always make money somewhere if you're willing to look beyond crypto. And we've been talking about Palladium here for a little while, and it started back a few months ago when it was essentially at like $1,000, between $1,000, $1,100 or so. And what we were looking at was the comparison between this pattern with Palladium and other indexes. We even looked at Ethereum's move. We looked at the HSI, the Hang Seng Index, and we just talked about how we were likely going to see Palladium get a move higher and ultimately run towards about $1,600. So here you can see when we made that video, Palladium was just below 1,100. Now it's at almost 1,600. So from that level, right, from that level in that video, Palladium's up about 45%. And that is since September. So it goes to show you why kind of brought, like, opening your mindset to other assets can really work out. And one of the things we talked about here that would happen would be that this pattern was something we had seen before, right? It's basically you sweep a high, you then go down, test the bull market support band, right? Which is kind of what we've talked about for Ethereum. And then you run, right? And then you run. And we saw the HSI do that exact thing. So we were looking at that pattern in the video. I don't know which video it was, but maybe it was this one. We looked at Ethereum, but we also looked at here, you can see the HSI, how it also swept a high, went back to the bull market support band, and then ran higher. And when it ran higher, it ended up finding a local top, kind of at one of these local tops on the way down. And so the way we came up with 1,600 was looking at this local top for Palladium right here and just saying, you know what? After Palladium holds support here, we should see it run back up to these highs. Now, I will say from here, what do we say? I mean, look, and you can see earlier today it went to 1610, right? 1610 is where it went. You can see it right here, the H. When I hover over that candle, 1610 is currently the local high. So where to from here, right? It's all great and all. But what to expect next? My thinking is kind of the same as what I said with gold, right? At the end of the day, any rational person would say, yeah, like you're probably going to get a correction soon, right? It's hard to just look at the gold chart and be like, it's going to go up forever because there's going to be a correction. But my argument here is that whenever the correction occurs, it will likely form a higher low. Right? It's likely going to form a higher low. When you look at the HSI, you can see that same pattern that played out. You could argue that we're currently at this high, right? Or approaching it, right? We might not even be there yet. Maybe we have a little bit more room to run, but we're approaching potentially that high. Ultimately, it dropped back down, but then it just kind of kept on going higher. So the thing is you can sit around and try to time the market and we can try to figure out like where exactly is the local top going to be, where is it not? And yeah, like we're probably going to get a correction in commodities at some point in the next few months, right? The problem is no one actually knows exactly where that correction is going to come in. Maybe Palladium just blows through this local high and goes up to the next one before dropping. But the point is if you're a long-term investor like me, it is prudent to think about, like, what are your goals? If you're just in this for a quick trade and you bought Palladium at $1,000 or $1,100 and you're up 40 to 50% and you want to go use that somewhere else, take the win, right? Like, take the win, move on. Maybe Palladium does continue to go up, but it doesn't mean the thing you might buy with it doesn't. But one thing I will warn you about, if you're going to sell Palladium to go buy some altcoin, I want you to think twice about doing that. And the reason I say that is because what a lot of people do is they'll sell the winners to buy the losers. And a lot of times the winners keep on winning and the losers keep on losing, right? Like there's a reason why the winners are winning and there's a reason that the losers are losing. And so I would not say that selling Palladium to go buy an altcoin does not make sense. Like, that doesn't make sense to me, because you're selling a winner to go buy something else that just keeps on bleeding out, right? So if you are going to take profits and count that as a win, then, think about what other winners you could find. For me, as to what I'm doing, like, I really don't, I haven't even made a decision yet, right? I haven't even sold any of my position. When I look at the HSI, it kind of makes sense that we're going to have a local top soon. But at the same time, when the HSI did make a local top, there was like a red week, and then another green week, and then another red week, and then another red week. And on that third red week after this rally, that was when it wicked to a high. So like I can sit here and be like, all right, let's try to time the top, but also recognize that usually tops like this, they form, like, they don't just go straight down. There's some type of process where over the span of 2 or 3 weeks, it doesn't really move, and then the correction starts. There are times where, like this one, where it just sweeps the high, but you could already argue that we already went through that process for Palladium, right? Like, we already had that type of drop on this sweep of the high here. So arguably, the next correction for Palladium would be after spending a few weeks around the same level. So if Palladium is still at $1,600 in 2 or 3 weeks, then it might make sense to think, all right, now you get the pullback to the bull market support band. But by maintaining exposure, it does allow you to enjoy any potential upside. The overall point that I want to make with Palladium here is that if you're a long-term investor, right? If you're a long-term investor, then whenever the pullback happens for Palladium, right? Whether it's here, whether it happens at, say, like that local top at, say, like 18 or 1900, no matter where it happens, the pullback will likely take place over a couple of months, but then it should be a higher low to then lead into a higher high, right? So, you could argue, if you're a long-term investor and you bought Palladium, right, say either down here at 900 or at 1100, if you bought it and you're just more of a long-term investor, you're not really looking to sell this quickly, just know that maybe the next pullback would just be another opportunity to buy the dip, if you will. Not financial advice, of course. It's just, I think we'll see Palladium continue its bull market, and I think there likely will be a drop that'll spook some people, but it should be constructive. It should continue to a higher high. That's the point that I want to make with Palladium. If you made some money on it, don't thank me, right? You took the risk and it paid off. So thank yourself, right? I mean, a lot of people want people to hit the buy button for them, but if you hit the buy button on any of these things I talk about, you take the risk on, right? Don't thank me or anyone else. And if it doesn't work out, don't blame me or anyone else, right? People need to take their own responsibility for the decisions that they make. So if you bought Palladium at 1100 or 1000 and now you're sitting up pretty good, it feels pretty good, right? Like, pat yourself on the back. It was no one else. I'm just looking at the markets and dubiously speculating, like I always do. And sometimes they get things wrong, and sometimes they get things right. And ultimately, my expectation with Palladium is that its bull market will continue, and that the next correction should ultimately be a macro higher low. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.